Pulley was also a lover of music. He started pursuing Patty by singing in the choir with her, sitting next to her in class, and the pair started a music ministry together, performing at churches.
Oh, wow. Sounds like they were both really into it.
Let's talk a little bit about Rick Pulley. Eugene Richard Pulley was a child of divorce, which was unusual in the 1950s. Rick moved with his mother to Raleigh, where they initially resided with her sister and brother-in-law, so he got to live in the house with his aunt and uncle. His mother was fortunate enough to find a job working for an insurance company, which afforded them the ability to have a decent life. She was able to care for her son financially. They eventually move in with Rick's grandparents. His childhood was filled with lots of love and attention. At school, Rick was considered an underachiever, although he did have this predilection for music, and he was growing up in the 1960s, so he was exposed to the Beatles and a lot of other really good rock music. He really found himself through music, as I think a lot of young people do.
Yeah, I think that was during that period, it was one of the biggest changes in the music culture in this country, don't you?
He played percussion in the school marching band, becoming somewhat of like a band geek, and really didn't mind that title at all. He was like, yeah, I'm a total band geek. His teachers always felt he could make better grades, but he just didn't really seem interested in earning more than just average marks.
So he wasn't so much worried about the arithmetic, math, reading, all the normal subjects, but he loved music, right?
After high school, he attended Lewisburg Junior College, where he studied business. Now, there was a cheating scandal which saw his expulsion from the college.
Well, that's not good.
And from what I understand, the cheating scandal went something like this. He was working as a teacher's assistant, and he had a fellow student who had struggled with some learning types of disabilities that approached him and was like, look, can you get me the answers to this test? And, I'm having a hard time. And so Rick kind of felt bad for this guy, ends up giving him the test answers, but somehow the whole class ends up just blowing the tests out of the water. So the professor knows something's up, and all comes back down on Rick. And, he admits what he did, but there are consequences to your actions. So he's kicked out of school.
Cheaters never win.
From there, he went on to work for Big Star Foods, which is a grocery store. And they were really trying to gain edge in the market. So at this time, they were tackling young, energetic people trying to fill their management trainee programs. And Rick started working there as a junior manager, though his true interest lie in making music.
So it's just like with school, just enough, keep my grades average just to get by. But I really love my music, and that's what I want to concentrate on.
It was during his early 20s that Rick also became more religious. He began taking inventory of his spiritual life, devoting much time to attending church, and really desired to create a music ministry to reach young people. Now, Rick had never really been one to drink or party, use drugs, but he just felt like something was missing in his life. And though he did consider himself to be a good person, he just felt like there was something more.
Like he deserved more, or was capable of more?
Well, just that there was this higher purpose.
Okay.
And that there was more out there. And that's when he really turned himself toward the church. He envisioned himself making a living as a full-time Christian musician and speaker. His desire to perform outweighed his passion for grocery store management, and he began slacking off at work. He just didn't really see himself in a position where he had to work 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, the 9-to-5 grind.
Well, yeah, and the higher you go in management, the more they're going to be calling you when there's problems, blah, blah, blah. His heart's not in it.
And some people are just not cut out for that.
No, and he's sounds like a creative type, and he would rather be creating all the time.
Rick and Patty's relationship begins to further, and they both believe it's God's will that they move forward together in creating this music ministry. They perform on weekends, at church-related functions. I mean, the pair's really gaining popularity throughout the Raleigh area, Wake County, and the surrounding counties.
So they're getting a little traction.
The relationship continued to blossom, but Rick could see he was not in Patty's league as far as being a performer.
Well, yeah, but that's okay.
Meredith had this premier music program, as I mentioned, and Patty was there learning voice, master theoretical, historical studies, composing. I mean, like in-depth music study. And Rick was basically self-taught. I mean, the most formal lessons he had was participating in high school marching band. But Rick didn't let that deter him from pursuing music with Patty. And though people said, compared to Patty, Rick's guitar playing and amateur vocals were obvious, they really did seem to find their own style together, and one that they could blend and that really kind of became a complementary thing.
Yeah, in a situation like that, you kind of got to be secure enough, either of you, to just work on it. You take the strength from both of you and put it together.
The couple had their first date at a high-end steakhouse in Raleigh, and I thought this was kind of a cute story just to show you that Patty was just a really simple kind of country girl. They both order prime rib. Patty asked that hers be cooked well done and then proceeded to eat it with ketchup. And this kind of became a joke between the two of them because, like I said, at heart, Patty was just this really simple girl.
Yeah, she didn't, you're supposed to have the prime rib pink, right?
Yeah, she was just the kind of person that just, like, didn't believe in putting on airs. Like, she'd never been to a fancy place. She had never had prime rib, but she's not going to, like, act embarrassed or pretend she knows more than she is.
I need a bottle of ketchup for this.
Yes, she's just true to herself.
Do you have ranch?
And I thought that was a cute story. On January 2nd, 1982, the couple gets married in Raleigh at the church where they first met. Rick had been promoted to a grocery store manager, and Patty was finishing up her degree at Meredith. During this time, the couple was financially stable. Rick was earning a really good wage, plus he had benefits. And the couple was also making money performing on the weekends. But Rick had stars in his eyes. The situation changed for the couple when they met another couple who were starting a church together in Winston-Salem. Rick and Patty decide to relocate, quit their jobs, and work in exchange for room and board to become full-time Christian musicians at this new church.
Well, that's a bold move. I mean, they feel good about it. They've made a little bit of money doing something they enjoy, which is awesome. But yeah, that's a bold move to relocate and quit your jobs and everything.
They were making a big leap of faith, but they really felt like this was their calling. They were supposed to do this, and it would all work out.
Okay.
Let's pause for a quick commercial break, Dylan. By 1994, the couple had moved to Ringgold, Virginia. Patty worked as a piano teacher, vocalist, and pianist. She also cleaned houses to supplement the income for the family. And by this time, Rick was working as a youth minister at the River of Life Church. People who knew Patty in Ringgold described her as kind and patient. And although Patty was not paid for her services at the church, she supported her husband in every way she could, offering to work in the church's music ministry. She helped with youth groups, outreach activities, any way that she was needed. The pair went on mission trips with the church. Their life revolved around the church.
So they're all church all the time. I'm sure they're at every function. Anytime they need extra work, volunteers are right there. So, yeah, they're really giving themselves to this.
The couple seemed happy and loving, but as we know, things are not always what they seem. The marriage was actually in turmoil. The Pulleys struggled financially for several years. Many disagreements that the couple had were over money. Rick also mismanaged money pretty badly, resorting to hiding bills from Patty.
Really?
Telling her that they hadn't arrived yet.
That's not going to work.
Take money from one bill to pay another, just sort of balancing like the priority, like which bill gets paid first.
Now, that is a skill that is very important to have. But you shouldn't do that unless you absolutely have to. Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, I don't like that.
It's not a good position to be in.
Yeah, we can't be like that. You know, my whole mission is like we pay bills first and foremost.
Pay everything up.
And whatever you have left, like that's it.
Now, if you end up in a situation for whatever reason to where you have to do that, you need to be able to mentally pull that off. But it's certainly not a position you want to put yourself in.
Well, and you don't want to do that if your wife's not on board.
And
like
she
Rick.
doesn't. No. Now, if I was hiding that from you,
I would be pissed.
Yeah, and she's out working, lessons on the side, doing everything she can to bring money in. So, yeah, Rick, what are you doing?
And then just the deception there.
Yeah, it's bull.
Little white lies of, oh, well, this hasn't come in yet.
Yeah, we don't pay the lights, but every 6 months.
I can understand why she would be upset.
Who
Because
wouldn't?
again, Patty was working 3 jobs most of the time.
And doing everything she can in her spare time to support him his position there at the church and anything he needs done.
Also, there were other problems, Dylan. There were sexual problems.
Oh my God.
Rick had periods of erectile dysfunction, which can cause intimacy issues.
It's definitely awkward, I've been told.
In 1994, Rick began having an affair.
Well, that's not going to help anything.
Eventually, Patty finds out about the marital infidelity. I imagine she felt heartbroken and betrayed because she's devoted her entire life to Rick and to helping him live his dream.
Yeah, I could even argue that maybe she felt more betrayed than maybe your average person because of their strong feelings about their religion and everything being tied around their beliefs. And I'm sure that really hurt her.
It is said that Patty Jo never felt the same about Rick after he confessed he had had an affair. Get this. He tells her on Valentine's Day.
What a dick. That's stupid.
He felt guilty, felt like he needed to come clean, tells her, hey, I had an affair. Happens to be on Valentine's Day.
I bet it's like the devil's been in my pants. And she's like, what do you mean, Rick? What do you mean, Rick? And he's like, I got to tell you something.
I got the devil dick, girl.
The devil's been coming out of my pants and doing bad things, girl. Be like, you ain't did no bad things to me with your little lamp dick. No, it was with other people because that's what the devil wanted. Okay.
Are you done?
Yeah. Sorry.
As anyone can imagine, her anger grew and became more intense. Trust was broken. It's hard, if almost impossible, to bounce back after that trust is broken in a relationship, especially in a marriage.
It's never the same. Even if you guys make it and get back to where it's good again, it's never the same. And yeah, a lot of people don't make it through that. Even if it's years later, that was the point where the bitterness and the resentment started building up.
You're going through counseling
and
taking every measure to try to salvage the marriage. You're still going to have feelings. Those just don't go
always
away,
are. It
right?
never does. And you should only do that if you two are on board with it. You shouldn't worry about what other people think, but it typically doesn't work out eventually.
On another occasion, not long after the affair, Patty overheard Rick telling a young woman in the congregation that he had feelings for her.
Rick, come on, bruh.
Rick was also regularly shouting at Patty Jo, often in front of others, including the children in his youth program. Parishioners noted his intensity and that he seemed to showcase violent temper tantrums when he didn't get his way.
Yeah, the youth minister slapped his wife at church Bible study today, Mama.
In the summer of 1998, Patty showed up to church with some bruises on her arms and legs, which she said happened when she fell down some stairs.
Oh my, such a cliche cover-up.
However,
story.
Patty confided in a college friend that Rick was abusive. Patty was unhappy with the marriage and began losing weight. Rick was always on the heavy side, and he packed on more weight, which contributed further to his erectile dysfunction. He shunned sex with Patty. He preferred to get his kicks with phone sex or through pornography.
Yeah, so he's abusive, a cheater, lying to her about finances. Yeah, he's just not a very good guy, right?
The expectations of sex from his wife and long-term relationships required more effort than Rick was willing to put into it. He would rather just have sex with himself. A lack of intimacy can destroy a relationship. I mean, you have to have that. As much as we want to act like maybe sex isn't a big deal, it's a big fucking deal in a relationship.
I think it's a cornerstone. I think there's sex, there's finances, and then, your core beliefs, like your deep down what you believe about some big issues, be it religion, politics, the way you view the world. I think those are the cornerstones of relationship.
Phone sex became an obsession for Rick. The couple already had struggled with all these money troubles, and Rick was spending the upwards of $900 a month on phone sex calls to those 976 numbers.
That's a lot.
We may have some younger listeners out there who don't know about phone sex lines. I mean, they may have had phone sex, but they don't really know about the whole concept of this used to be a thing.
Yeah.
If you stayed up late watching
movies
or whatever,
yeah,
there would be the commercials on TV.
Yeah, with the women